One for the money, two for the show. Pretty get ready now, go, can't go, don't.
1 minute ago, the internet decided Elvis Presley might not be gone after all. Not in a poetic way, not in a his music lives on way, in a literal, shocking, spine-tingling way. A 30-second clip, shaky and unedited, hit social media with one simple caption. I just saw Elvis Presley at Graceland. He's alive. 90 years old. I got it on camera. Within seconds, the comments exploded. Within minutes, Elvis fan groups were on fire. And within that first minute, one question started spreading faster than the video itself. Did someone really just catch the king alive at 90? Here's what the clip shows. It's early evening outside Graceland. You can hear cars rolling by, a couple of tourists talking, the normal buzz around those famous gates. The person filming sounds bored at first, just talking about being there, about how they always dreamed of visiting. And then the camera jolts. Because from the right side of the frame, behind the gates, an elderly man slowly comes into view. He's not trying to be seen. He's not waving, posing, or looking for attention. He's just walking, hunched slightly with age. But there's something about the way he moves, that familiar rhythm, the way his shoulders sit, the tiny sway in his step, that makes people freeze the video, rewind, and say, wait, no way, that's Elvis. He's in a simple jacket, hands down at his sides. For a split second, he pauses, lifts his hand in a small, almost automatic gesture, and that's when everything goes crazy. Because to some people, that hand movement is all they need. It's the same casual, effortless gesture they've seen in backstage footage, in rare home videos, in rehearsals from the 70s. The same tilt of the head, the same way he seems to look up without fully lifting his chin. And then, just as he's about to disappear back towards the house, two security guards step into the shot. They don't look surprised to see him. They don't rush over like he's an old tourist who wandered off the tour. They move with that stiff, alert energy fans know too well, the protect the VIP mode. One guard glances towards the gate. You can't see his eyes clearly, but his posture changes, like he just realized someone's filming. His hand comes up halfway, as if to block the camera. The other guy gently touches the older man's arm, guiding him away, deeper into the property, out of sight. The clip ends right there. No zoomed-in face shot, no clear audio of his voice. Just enough to drive millions of people insane. Under the video, the comments split into two worlds almost instantly. One side is furious, calling it fake, edited, AI-generated, desperate. Bro, Elvis died in '77. Stop this nonsense. This is disrespectful to his memory. Looks like any older man, people see what they want to see. The other side, they're shaking. They're typing in all caps. They're crying in their profile pictures. That walk, I know that walk. The way he turns his head. I felt it in my stomach. Listen at 017 with headphones. He says something. That's his voice. Some fans claim they slowed the clip down, frame by frame, and matched the body language to old concert rehearsal footage. Others say they isolated the audio and swear they hear a low, tired voice quietly say, "Let's go, son," before the guards lead him away. Is that really there? Or is it just grief, nostalgia, and wishful thinking doing what they always do, filling in the blanks? Here's what makes this different from the usual Elvis is alive stories that have floated around for decades. This video is geotagged near Graceland. The timestamp lines up with the time the uploader says they were there. The angle clearly shows the Graceland grounds, not some random house. And this isn't a blurry gas station security camera from the 80s. This isn't a rumor about a truck driver who looked like Elvis. This is Graceland. This is now. And to a lot of fans, it feels far too close to home. Because if you've ever watched that final concert footage, if you've ever heard the way his voice cracked near the end, if you've ever sat alone with headphones on, listening to Elvis pour his soul into a song and thought he deserved better than the way it ended, then you understand why this clip doesn't feel like a joke. It feels like a second chance, a maybe, a what if. People who swore they'd made peace with his death in 1977 suddenly feel their hearts pounding again. Some are angry at themselves for even entertaining it. Others are secretly hoping, almost like a child, that somehow, some way, the story didn't end on that day. And as the video spreads, as hashtags about a 90-year-old Elvis at Graceland race up trending lists, another quieter conversation begins. If this is Elvis, who else knows? Because rumor is, someone very close to the Presley world, someone who has spent years guarding his legacy, defending his name, and protecting his story, has already seen the clip. And the way they reacted is not what anyone expected. If this man truly is Elvis, who knew he was still there? And more importantly, why would the people closest to him choose to stay completely silent? If that really was Elvis Presley, 90 years old and walking behind those Graceland gates, then here's the question nobody can dodge. Who already knew? Because a man doesn't quietly reach 90 at one of the most famous homes on earth without somebody helping him stay hidden. That means, if this footage is real, there isn't just a mystery about Elvis. There's a mystery about everyone around him. Start with the people who've spent their lives protecting his name, his story, his image, family, estate managers, longtime staff, people who have walked those halls, answered questions from fans, signed contracts, renewed licenses, and kept the machinery of Elvis Presley running long after 1977. Do you honestly believe that if Elvis were still alive in there, none of them would know? Of course they would. So the real tension isn't just, is that Elvis? It's, would they ever tell us if it was? For decades, Graceland hasn't just been a house. It's been a shrine, a business, a story carefully curated down to the last flower arrangement. Every tour, every exhibit, every note in the audio guides has been shaped to honor the man and keep the legend alive. Now imagine how fragile that balance is. On one side, the emotional weight of his death, the deep respect for his struggle, his addictions, his collapse. On the other, the enormous financial engine of the Elvis legacy, tours, merchandise, movies, tribute concerts, licensing deals. Drop a bombshell like, Elvis is alive at 90 and living at Graceland, into that world, and everything explodes. There would be legal chaos, media storms, conspiracy groups camping at the gates, paparazzi drones, lawsuits, people demanding proof, people demanding to see him, people demanding to know why they were lied to for almost 50 years. So if, and this is a big if Elvis had somehow chosen to disappear from the public eye, to be pronounced dead, to step off the stage permanently and live out his years quietly behind closed doors, would the people closest to him really have any reason to expose that? Or would they see it as their final job? Protect him, not the star, not the product, the man. It's uncomfortable, isn't it? Because on one hand, as fans, we feel like we deserve the truth. We've bought the records, worn the shirts, visited the grave, cried at the documentaries. we feel like we're part of the story. But on the other hand, if Elvis, the human being behind everything, begged the people he trusted for one last gift, one simple thing he never had at 22, at 30, at 40, silence, privacy, a life without cameras, would they really owe us an explanation? Some people close to the Presley world have been asked about these Elvis is alive theories for years, and most of the time, the response is the same. A tired sigh, a soft denial, a wish that people would just let him rest. They don't play with the rumor. They don't tease it. They shut it down. Why? Because for them, this isn't a game. It's pain. It's grief that never fully healed. Now this new clip shows up, and the silence feels louder than ever. No official statement rushing to debunk it. No angry press release tearing it apart frame by frame. Just nothing. And in the internet age, that silence becomes its own kind of fuel. For believers, every no comment is a wink. Every quiet response is proof something big is being hidden. If it was fake, they say, they'd crush it instantly. For others, the silence means something else entirely. They're exhausted. They're done fighting with people who will never accept the truth. So where does that leave you? If you were standing there, right at those gates, phone in your hand, and you saw that older man step into the light with a walk you recognized more than your own reflection, would you hit record? Would you run after him, yelling his name? Would you keep it to yourself and protect his secret, even if the world never believed you? It's easy to say, of course I'd expose it. People deserve to know. But imagine looking into his face, not the 1970s Elvis in the jumpsuit, but a tired, fragile 90-year-old man who has carried the weight of being Elvis Presley longer than most people have been alive. Would you really drag him back into the chaos he escaped? Because that's the real heart of this whole storm. If this video is real, then someone broke that silent agreement and let the secret leak out. If it's fake, then millions of people are wrestling with a different kind of truth. We don't just miss his music, we miss him. And somewhere between those two realities, between hoax and hidden life, is a harder question. What if the real story isn't about whether Elvis is alive, but about why, after all these years, we still can't bear to let him go? In the end, pixel arguments and audio debates might fade, but the feeling this clip stirred up, that ache, that hope, that stubborn little voice whispering, maybe he's still here, that's not going anywhere. And that's exactly where this mystery takes its sharpest turn. Because whether that man is Elvis or not, the world's reaction to him says something powerful about who Elvis was and what he still is to millions of people who never stopped waiting at those gates. Maybe that man in the footage is Elvis Presley at 90 years old. And maybe he isn't. But here's the part almost nobody wants to admit out loud. That might not actually be the most important question. Because the deeper you go into this story, the more it stops being about one blurry clip and starts becoming a mirror. A mirror held up to us, the fans, the believers, the skeptics, the people who still feel something in their chest when they hear his name. Ask yourself this honestly. Why do we want Elvis to be alive? Not in the poetic sense, not in the his music lives forever way. No. Why do we want him, an exhausted, broken human man who died in 1977, to somehow still be walking around at 90, tucked away behind some familiar white columns and iron gates? For some people, it's simple. Elvis is their youth. He's the sound of a first kiss, the face on a poster tacked to a teenage bedroom wall. He's their parents dancing in the living room. He's a time when life felt smaller, warmer, less complicated. For others, especially younger fans, he's proof that charisma like that used to exist. That someone could walk on stage, open his mouth, and the whole world would feel like it tilted for a second. No autotune, no filters, just raw presence. When someone like that leaves, it never feels finished. His death didn't feel fair. It didn't feel gentle. It felt like a robbery of more music, more movies, more interviews where he could have finally spoken like a man and not just a product. So the mind does what the mind always does when it can't handle an ending. It rewrites it. It imagines a different road, a secret exit, a version where he didn't die on that day. He just stepped off the stage and chose a quieter life. That's what these Elvis is alive stories really are. They're grief wearing a disguise. And this new clip, this Elvis at 90 at Graceland moment, ripped that disguise right off and showed how raw that grief still is. Think about it. If I sat you down and proved once and for all, with absolute certainty, that Elvis was gone, no more rumors, no more sightings, no more shaky videos, would you really feel better? Or would it feel like losing him all over again? The truth is, rumors like this survive for one reason. We're not done saying goodbye. We replay old concerts, we analyze interviews, we argue about who hurt him, who used him, who tried to save him. We fill comment sections with stories about the first time we heard "Can't Help Falling in Love" or how our grandmother cried when he died. Elvis stopped being just a singer a long time ago. He became a symbol of talent and tragedy, charm and pressure, glory and collapse. He's the bright light and the burned-out bulb at the same time. So when someone posts a clip and whispers, "He's alive, I saw him," our brains go to war with our hearts. Our brain says, "No, impossible, let him rest." Our heart says, "Just give me one more maybe." And maybe that's why this particular rumor feels different. Not because the footage is perfect, it isn't. Not because the audio is clear, it's not. But because the idea of him being at Graceland, not as a museum piece, but as a living, breathing old man who finally got some peace, taps into something deep. We picture him in a quiet room, no cameras, no screaming, maybe a record spinning, maybe a book open on his lap, maybe just silence. No schedule, no contracts, no one demanding one more show. If that image brings you comfort, notice that, because that tells you something about what you always wished for Elvis, even if you didn't have the words for it. It means you didn't just want more performances. You wanted him to be okay. So maybe that's the real heart of this story. Maybe Elvis is alive, in the way that matters most, in how his voice still fills kitchens when people cook dinner, in how his songs still play at weddings, funerals, lonely midnight drives, in how a new generation who wasn't even born when he died watches a movie or a clip and says, "How did one man do that?" A rumor brought us here. A 30-second video lit the match. But what it revealed is bigger than a conspiracy. It showed that decades later, people still care enough to argue, investigate, cry, and hope over a man who hasn't recorded a new song since before many of us were born. So whether you think that man at Graceland was Elvis at 90, or just an ordinary stranger caught in the wrong spotlight at the right time, the truth is Elvis never really walked out of our lives. He's still here, in the arguments, in the memories, in the late-night YouTube rabbit holes where a fan says, just one more clip, and suddenly it's 3 a.m. and you're watching an entire concert from 1972 with tears in your eyes. And maybe, in a strange way, that's the ending he earned. Not a perfect one, not a peaceful one, but a lasting one. Because as long as there are people willing to stand at those gates, in person or online, watching, wondering, waiting for one more glimpse of the king, Elvis Presley, in the ways that count, is still very much alive. If you've made it this far, I want to hear from you. Do you think that man at Graceland was Elvis at 90? Or are we just holding on to someone we can't let go of? Share your theory or your favorite Elvis memory below. And if you want more untold Elvis stories, stick around with us.